Yes, there is news on your device, but hearing an analyst perspective is the icing on the cake that Daybreak Africa provides. Start your day with prompt analysis of the latest news, trends,
and then you see these people, they're so agile, they can do it.
Politics.
We have to go back to that regional system. That is the foundation of this country, for God's sake.
Entertainment, fashion, culinary skills.
So first I'm going to be pouring the oil inside because
religious and cultural events amongst others on Daybreak Africa. For a rich mix of analysis on current issues, tune in daily from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. on channel 480 and 124 on Startimes. Yes, there is news on your device, but hearing an analyst perspective is the icing on the cake that Daybreak Africa provides. Start your day with
Hello everyone, thank you so much for being part of Joy Asonye Live today. As usual, we're talking about trending political topics, and today we'll be talking about the APC internal politics, what's been going on there. That's coming after a couple of days ago we saw the resignation, or rather we heard about the resignation of the national chairman of the All Progressive Congress. Meanwhile, the deputy national chairman north of the APC, Senator Abubakar Kyari, has emerged the party's national chairman, succeeding Senator Abdullahi Adamu after the senator formally announced his resignation and that of Senator Iola Omishore, the national secretary. According to the APC, this resignation is voluntary, but the APC seemed for a very long time now to have her house together. What's going on there is what we'll be discussing with my guest, A.K. Peters. He's a political analyst and one that's really in-depth on the political happenings in Nigeria. Thank you so much for being part of the program.
Thank you, Joy.
Yes. At this point, we'll just go for a short break, then return to go in-depth into the story, what's happening in the APC. We'll be right back.
While wrapping up the day, unwind with the reminiscence of the day's news from home and abroad with KAFTAN TV 7 p.m. News.
Good to have you join us on KAFTAN News at 7.
Nigerians are living in up to 5%. Our young people, we propose the Harmony Symphony.
It's good to have you join us on KAFTAN TV News at 7.
We found that the 10 naira tax is not actually sufficient.
This is still Joy Asonye Live. Thanks for staying with us. Like I said earlier, we're discussing the APC internal politics, and we have A.K. Peters. I can't begin to tell you how honored I feel for finally honoring my invitation. Welcome to our studios. I hope you're comfortable.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
Yes. So let's go to the APC. Just about a year since Senator Adamu emerged the APC national chairman. He's resigning, and that's coming about 2 years after the dissolution of the Adams-Oshomole-led National Working Committee was dissolved. This seems to be a trail when it comes to the leadership of national of political parties really. Are you seeing this as a problem in Nigeria? Is it a structural problem?
It's exactly, I guess, 16 months that Abdullahi Adamu was in office as the national chairman of APC. It's sad that in about just 10 years of existence as a party in Nigeria, the All Progressives Congress have had about 8 national chairmen. But I think it is not unconnected with the fact that Nigerian democracy has still not really taken root. Political parties still do not know how to be managed. In the developed climes, management of political party is different from management of government or management of other institutions. Political parties are managed by party administrators, and political party administrators are not politicians. Incidentally, in Nigeria, those who manage political parties are politicians, full-time politicians. What has made the matter worse in the APC is the fact that almost every national chairman of the APC has been a former governor. Beginning with the first national chairman, Baba Bisi Akonde. Then it went to Adams Oshomole, John Oyegun, to Adams Oshomole, and then it came to Memala Bunu. Then it came to Abdullahi Adamu. Let's forget about the Hilia Adeta, as well as former governor, the late governor of Oyo State, the one who died during COVID and all of that. You know, during that embryo that they had. Every leader of the party has been a former governor. A governorship position is a position where you wield so much power, absolute power, excessive power. So much power, I want to emphasize again. One who decides who is alive and who dies is almost near absolute power. For someone who has tested that, and after some time he leaves office, then he is given the management of a national political party, a ruling party, so to say, and all of that. And then he will have those who are governors today, probably who used to be his boys yesterday, who were either colleagues in the Senate with him and all of that. The person will want to wield so much powers that he will not want to be humble enough to see himself as a servant, one who wants to make things happen. Unfortunately, also, as I said, it is politicians and not administrators. An administrator will know how to fix things, how to handle things, where to stoop low, where to be a bit, where to emphasize, where to insist on certain things. But where you make a politician an administrator of a political party, whatever move he makes is interpreted to be politics. And more so, the process of recruiting this political party chairman, like the APC, wasn't the best of processes.
Especially this past,
has
this
never
past
been
one?
the best of processes.
Is it just this past one or so far?
We're more or less forced upon the people.
Right.
And the governors said, okay, because Mr. President has insisted, they resisted him several times until the very last time they decided, okay, in the last minute, 2 days to the day, they said, okay, Mr. President, because you are the president and leader of the party, we will go with you. But what happened? They gave the president only the national chairman and then probably national secretary, and took every other office. The president had made a list of, that's President Buhari, had made a list of all officers he wanted. But the governors came together and decided to give him just the chairman.
And maybe the national.
And then they took up all other offices. The existing then governors of APC controlled state brought in every member of the national executive committee. That was what happened. That was why you saw that preferred candidates like even Ken Namani, who was to be a national the deputy national chairman from the camp of President Buhari, couldn't make it. Unfortunately, that's the situation.
When would you say Senator Adamu's ordeal really started? Because we've been hearing, we know that the past president had, well, in lack of better words to use, imposed him on others. I remember those arguments here and there by APC chieftains at the time. But when would you say his ordeal started? Would it be unconnected to the statement prior to the primaries of his support?
The ordeal, you know, in this arena, we used to have, or we still have, a lot of banana peels. And when you do not stand well or stand firmly, you will step on the banana peel and you will slip. His took just 16 months and 2 legs stepped on the banana peel. And that is why he slipped and fell. His ordeal really started when, after becoming national chairman, he couldn't really effectively reconcile the APC family. The APC family went into the APC primaries not as one house. They went in there as a divided house. As a national chairman, he made a fundamental mistake. That mistake is actually his Waterloo. That mistake was his tragic flaw. The tragic flaw that has haunted him and led to his downfall.
Which is?
In the build-up to the primaries, so many aspirants were coming up. The APC had initially said they had zoned the ticket to the south. And here was a national chairman who would have been the one to implement that policy, that gentleman agreement, that decision of the party. But the national chairman, both in body language and in actions and voice
and words,
so to say, acted otherwise. He did come out to openly declare support for the then Senate President, Ahmed Lawan, as the preferred candidate of the party, or the anointed candidate of the party, and the candidate of Mr. President.
Oh, before you go further, was it okay to separate this? Say Adamu, Senator Adamu himself, Abdullahi Adamu, was supporting and not necessarily asking other APC stalwarts to do same, or the delegates to do same. Was it possible to separate those places?
He addressed a press conference and said this is the position of the party.
Right.
And that position that he gave was contrary to the resolution and agreement of the party, that the ticket be zoned
to the south.
And in saying that, he did not only throw open, if he had just thrown open the ticket to everybody to contest, it would have been better. But he zeroed in on a particular candidate. And that was the cause of his travails. Incidentally, at the end of the primaries, that candidate that he supported did not emerge as the standard bearer of the party. Another person emerged as Shiwaju Ahmed Bola Tinubu. And the relationship was never the same again.
Of course. I mean, you wouldn't expect the relationship to be the same, but nothing was said or done prior to the elections. Everybody seemed to have moved on. Why now?
Political sins are never forgiven. Whatever I want, I go for it. I may pretend to forget the injuries you inflicted on me, the thoughts you put on me on my way to where I was going. And finally, after I get there, I will not waste time in hacking you down. Unfortunately, Nigerian political system or space is that immature. And they will always tell you, if you shoot me in the process and I fall down, and you allow me to get up, I will shoot you back in such a way that when you fall, you will not be able to get up. I think that's exactly what is playing out now.
But in the same vein, after the primaries, would you say his actions helped or marred or was an obstacle to
I guess
President Tinubu's
he had no choice any longer.
Right.
He had no option any longer. A candidate had emerged, and that is the standard bearer or flag bearer of the party. As party chairman, you will work for the candidate. You will work with the candidate. You will campaign for the candidate. And together with the candidate, you will constitute a campaign council that will prosecute that war. Election everywhere in the world is war.
Of course.
And that is why when you win the war, you will come back and share the booty, the spoils of war.
Now, having observed the conduct of the elections and the conduct of the APC prior to the elections and during the elections, would you say that he was indeed supportive? I remember here listening having a conversation rather with an APC person way before the announcement of the national chairman's resignation, where it was said that the national chairman did not seem to have supported President Tinubu at the time, and that was why President Tinubu, apart from having the APC Presidential Campaign Council, had to establish the independent campaign council, what they call the ICC. Would you say that it was he indeed put his maybe preference aside and really worked for the emergence of this president?
He worked for the emergence of the president. The Independent Campaign Council, which was a parallel campaign council,
have we seen that
running
before?
side by side with the Tinubu-Shetima Presidential Campaign Council, was headed by his main challenger, the former governor of Nasarawa State also, and that is Tanko Al-Makura. That is correct. The truth is that Al-Makura was President Tinubu's candidate for national chairmanship of the APC. Incidentally, unfortunately, the way things are now, I don't think Al-Makura may still be the one to emerge. But if he emerges, thanks be to God.
So why do you think he may not be the one to emerge? He was one of the leading candidates when...
Yeah, they have started bringing the issue of religion, that if the president is a Christian, the party chairman should be Muslim. If the president is Muslim, the party chairman should be Christian. Ordinarily, I would have felt this is Asiwaju's stuff. He knows how to handle these things very well. The natural candidate that would have come out of this should be his then preferred candidate, which is Tanko Al-Makura. But because people have been talking about this Christian-Muslim dichotomy and the need for ethnic and religious balancing, names like Right Honorable Simon Lalong, His Excellency, former governor of Plateau State, and Right Honorable James Faleke are beginning to spring up now as possible candidates for replacement.
Okay, if we are talking about ethnic and religious balancing, should we look towards the east? I read an article that the former immigration
I do not think that it should go to the east. Because,
had said.
Yes, I do not think it should go to the east. The president is from the south. The east is south. So if the president of the country comes from the south, the chairman of the party should come from the north. If the president is from the north, the chairman should come from the south.
So you're not putting into consideration the vice president, you're not putting into consideration the
person they put into consideration is just the president.
Right. So, this call for an Easterner to emerge, do you think is dead on arrival? Is this something the president might consider? And would you feel like this is not fair? Would the Northerners...
I would have preferred an Easterner. I would have preferred an Easterner to be national chairman of APC. But again, as I said, an Easterner is from the southern part of Nigeria. It is only natural that it should go to the north.
So what's the biggest, would I say, danger now should the president now take a Muslim from the north? I know we had that squabble talking about the Muslim ticket. And
yeah, the issue is not really about religion per se, but about region.
Right.
The first card they will put on the table is region. The president is from the south. The chairman of the party should come from the north. And then when they get to the north, they may start taking other considerations. You know, Asiwaju is a kind of president that, came with a lot of things that are novel. Ordinarily in Nigeria, people believe that if you are a president who is coming from the north, naturally you should be a Muslim. If you are a president who is coming from the south, naturally you should be a Christian. But President Tinubu comes from the south and he's a Muslim. So it has a sort of like reject and unsettled a lot of the things. So it's a novelty. It's just happening for about the first time, and we are still trying to see how things can be worked out.
But what sort of precedent do we have if he's being vindictive? Like a lot of people have speculated by, like I've heard, it's not been confirmed yet, pressuring Senator Adamu to resign if it is based on something that was done prior to the election.
I think it's not necessarily vendetta. It could be vendetta. But if you call it vendetta, it should be political vendetta, not the normal, ordinary vendetta. I think what we should term it is irreconcilable differences.
Irreconcilable?
Differences.
It is in the hem of this person that the president
You will
emerged.
recall that after the emergence of the principal officers of the National Assembly
is right.
The national chairman was interviewed, and on camera on national television, he said it was a rumor.
He rejected.
And rejected
He
those
rejected
people outrightly.
the lists, yes.
The next day, he was summoned to the villa, and he came out singing a different story. So, for him to have publicly, sharply expressed his differences with the president, or the intention of the president, should not be. And such sins are not forgiven in Nigerian politics.
Can never be forgiven?
They will not be forgiven.
Even though it's this person's leadership qualities that made you emerge president? And the APC I wouldn't say did really badly, wouldn't you say?
As we have seen, Abdullahi Adamu was not forgiven.
He
He's
wasn't.
licking his wounds. I guess there would have been a better way for him to have approached that issue. He didn't approach that issue that way. It was an emotional, momentary outburst, which described exactly how he felt about it and what his view on that issue or matter was. Unfortunately, he made it open.
But would you say that he was sidelined? Because I mean, it only makes sense if I have this list, if I compile this list with the powers that be, with the presidency and other stakeholders, he will not deny the list. So a lot of us looked at that to say maybe he was sidelined in the compilation of that list.
That is correct, and that was exactly what he said.
But is that proper?
The National Executive Committee or the party was not carried along.
But is that proper?
What he said was that he had no idea of how the names came about. And if these are meant to be leaders of the party or the party's caucus or caucus in the National Assembly, in both houses of the National Assembly, he would have been part of their emergence. The party's interest or party's advice would have been sought. And then the party would have said, this is the way we are thinking.
Exactly.
This is the way we are thinking.
That's the ideal situation.
Reconciled.
Peter?
Unfortunately, we learned that the list was made in the villa, and they just went to the National Assembly and read it. And Adamu, being a national chairman, who didn't believe that he should be a pushover, reacted the way he reacted.
But would you blame him for reacting like that? It's only natural. I mean, you wouldn't expect anything less now, would you?
There would have been a better way of handling the matter. He didn't handle that matter properly. By addressing press and pouring out the way you poured out, saying it the way you said it, rejecting it the way you rejected it, meant that you were not on the same page with the leader of the party, who is the president. And you cannot be national chairman of a party and you can't be on the same page. It means you have put yourself and your authority far and over above that of Mr. President. And they used to say that the real head of the party is the leader of the party. And if it is the ruling party, it is the president.
Right.
And even the national chairman comes under the authority of the president. Unfortunately, that is done only in Nigeria. And this is a later development. In the First Republic and the Second Republic, it wasn't so. Party chairmen reigned, ruled, wielded a lot of influence, a lot of power. They took a lot of decisions. They were the be-all and the end-all of the party. They symbolized the party. They carried the image of the party. It was their responsibility to drive the agenda, the manifesto of the party, as well as other basic principles of the party, especially the ideology of the party. Unfortunately, a situation where a national chairman and members of his national executive committee of the party, who are supposed to be the custodian of the ideology of the party and the manifesto of the party, who are supposed to guide the president, who is the executive in chief of the federation, because they are also hungry, because they are also politicians, because they also want to eat from the big pie or from the national cake, will compromise their authorities, compromise their offices and positions, and just allow anything also go so that they can share from what the president will bring to the table. It shouldn't be so. As a leader of a political party, more so a ruling party, the party has the capacity to give you everything you want. The party is expected to provide for you and make you live large as the leader or chairman, national chairman of the ruling party. What you are supposed to do is to always ensure that all those who are appointed and are working under the federal government and the state government, you guide them on this and on this.
Exactly.
This is the way the party thinks. This is the party's ideology. This is what we have in our manifesto. In this area or sector of the economy, these are the things we promise the people. Guide those people who are holding these executive positions to ensure that they tailor the administration towards achieving those basic goals, objectives, and that you canvassed for votes for. Unfortunately, a national chairman wants to be a contractor in Nigeria. A national chairman wants to sit down and call a governor and send someone to him, give this person this kind of job and all of that. That is the problem.
Okay, well,
but don't forget too that one of the major things that also happened was not just the disagreement with Mr. President, but that members of his National Executive Committee have said that Mr. National Chairman wasn't transparent enough.
Yes.
They talked about the 32 billion naira that was raised from the forms, expression of interest form and nomination forms for the 2023 general elections, and the money amounted to 32 billion. And they suddenly discovered that it is 7 billion that is found in the coffers of the party. That means 25 billion naira suddenly disappeared. Vanished. So where did the 25 billion naira go to? They have not received anything extraordinary. They have not seen what the party has done. They didn't see this money injected into the campaign, even though campaigns in Nigeria are supposed to be coordinated by INEC, who are supposed to ensure that you don't spend above a particular amount of money. But if you raise 32 billion naira and 7 billion naira is what is found in the account, I am not there. I don't know how correct that is. But that is what we read in the media. That
so 25 billion naira
is unaccounted for.
Right. And I recall that the vice chairman of the party, that the Northwest, that Saliu Lukman, had that issue and really had blamed this leadership. We'll go back into this conversation after this short break. This is still Joy Asonye Live, where we are discussing the APC internal wranglings. We'll be right back. Welcome back from that short break. We've been discussing the APC internal politics with A.K. Peters, a political analyst. I want to take the conversation to how we can see stability in our political sphere, especially with the political parties and their leadership. This is not isolated to just the APC. It seems to cut across. So moving forward, how can we see this stability so that the leadership would not take us back and forth? It's like we keep being tossed back and forth. The Labour Party, now the big boys, they're now sitting and eating in the big boy table, and so they too are having their internal leadership problems. The G5 of the PDP cannot be forgotten in a hurry, and they call for the past national chairman of the PDP, and here we are with the APC. So how can we see this stability, better structure, and the definition of what the national chairman should do?
Incidentally, all the 4 big parties are having leadership issues. The NMPP, you recall that the national chairman resigned
shortly after the elections.
The Lamidi Apapa issue of the Labour Party, and of course, Iochayu
of the PDP.
APC.
So how can we see sanity? For some of us in the media, you can't keep up with what's going on these days. It's like you wake up and see a difference.
As I said, going forward, we should try in Nigeria to ensure that political parties are managed by party administrators. Party administrators should not be politicians.
How is that going to work? Let us do it like
America. We borrowed this presidential system from America, and the Nigerian presidential system is the American style presidential system. So let us also model it after the American system, where the party is robust, the party has a lot of activities, the party ensures that all that the party needs to do, they do. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we bring in politicians to be national chairmen of political parties. And when these politicians come, what they are thinking about is not necessarily how to reposition the party, but what they will get out of it. By positioning either their boys to be as governors in certain states, or to be in the National Assembly, or bringing or making their choice candidates emerge as flag bearers and eventually president from their parties. So they are playing politics even within the party. And the national chairman of a party is expected to be relatively neutral, who should work towards the emergence of the best person as flag bearer of the party. A situation where, you see, it's like what happened in PDP. Soon after the PDP primaries and the emergence of Atiku, and they went to visit
Tambuwal. He was the governor at the time.
The national chairman referred to Aminu Waziri Tambuwal as the hero of the convention. That was one of the major things that angered Nyesom Wike. So it means what happened as far as Atiku is concerned was a charade. And it means the charade that took place there had the imprimatur
of the national
chairman. And because he murdered sleep, as Shakespeare would say, he can sleep no more.
Exactly. However, are you concerned that we would always have this in our democracy?
Our democracy is evolving. It's really, really evolving. And I think the evolution is fast. Don't forget that America is almost 300 years old from 1776.
Yes.
So calculate 1776 to now and 1960 to now. So you will see that we are really evolving fast. Over time, a lot of these things, we will resolve them. Over time, a lot of these we will overcome. Over time, a lot of these we will learn to accept, and then we will move forward. The mentality of our people was not the mentality of democracy. Know too that democracy is not the culture of Africa. Now we are imbibing democracy. And democracy in a plural nation like Nigeria is not easy. Why is it not easy? we contend with so many forces in Nigeria. Nigeria is a nation that has over 350 ethnic nationalities. Nigeria is a nation that has so many religions. And one person has to be president. And he has to be president for the North, the South, the East, and the West. President for Christian, Muslim, free thinkers, and African traditional religion. It is only over time and through a lot of education will we come to accept this. And that is one of the key roles and responsibilities of a political party in a country, in a political system. What we see in Nigeria is that political parties only exist for the purpose of contesting elections, and they see themselves as vehicles to government positions. A political party is expected to educate the citizenry. And what type of education are they supposed to give the citizenry? They are supposed to teach the citizenry basic civics, citizenship education. They are supposed to teach the people patriotism. Very fundamentally, very importantly, they are supposed to teach the people the basic tenets of democracy. And that is why we clap hands for democracy as the best form of government. Because in democracy, you are going to have majority having their way, but the minority will have their say. The role of an opposition party in a democratic setting is to put the governing party on their toes. They should be always on the hot seat, because the opposition party is always to constantly, consistently, frequently, and always give them knocks where they are not doing well. And because they are giving them knocks, they will blow those things to proportion. Let the people see that these people are not doing so well. We told you that these people are not doing so well. If you vote us in, we will do better than them. See how we will do our own. They are not interested in that. They are only interested in what? Contesting elections and winning election by hook or by crook, by fair or by foul, by accident or by design. It's really unfortunate. But again, as I will say, it is typical of third world social formations like Nigeria.
At what point would we understand what the oppositions are meant to be? Because it's very saddening that even at the moment, we're not hearing opposition cry out against some of the policies that they perceive. I'm in the media, so sometimes when you invite people who are grumbling about some policy implementation, and you say, come on air and speak about it, they say no. Could this be because we see them try to still rally around to get appointments and be relevant in governance, even though it is not in their government of their political parties?
You see, the government too, in Africa, especially in Nigeria, has not grown or developed to the level where they accept constructive criticism. They accept good advice as help to them and support for them. They see it as fighting them. They see it as opposing them. Our political leaders have not yet matured to the level of having a mentality that you need people to tell you the truth. We still have this carryover mentality of kingship, where whatever the king says is correct.
It's correct.
And you get up and say, God bless the king, and you hail the king, whether the king is doing well or not. You are not expected to criticize the king. Whatever the king says, if he wakes up from the left-hand side of his bed and decides it is like this, so be it. Unfortunately, because our presidential democracy concentrates so much powers in the hands of the executive, and there is so much poverty in the land, the man who holds the pie, the hot pie, is the one who distributes it to whoever he wants to give, whatever quantity he wants to give,
exactly,
whenever he wants to give. You are starving, you are hungry. You want to remain as a man of integrity, yet you are hungry. Your wife at home will start laughing at you and start insulting you. Your children will start calling you names and start disrespecting you. And you know you have a basic first responsibility as a parent to ensure that you provide for your wife and children at home. And when they start comparing you with people that were not up to you, in so you used to tower head and shoulder over them, and what they are doing, and all of that. Now you have no choice than to join the bandwagon, as it is popularly said in Nigeria. If you cannot beat them,
join them. You have been talking about an administrator to manage political parties, but you see how the peculiarities of Nigeria when it comes to our politics, our elections, our campaigns, and all of that. Would you say that there will be an administrator who would do a better job? Wouldn't it be better for one who is already a politician, and so that he's not quickly drowned? That's what I mean. Is it possible? Have you looked around?
When I say a political party administrator, it means one who is trained in the business of running a political party.
Are there those? Do we have those who have concentrated on that?
Those who are trained in managing political parties. Those whose responsibilities it is to ensure that political parties exist and live for a long time. Those who have been trained to understand that a party is like a culture. A party is like a breeding ground. Go to South Africa and ask of membership of the ANC, and see those who have risen to government positions and those who have risen to leadership of the party are those who have been members of the party for a very long time. Don't forget that Abdullahi Adamu used to be a member of the PDP. He was two-time governor of Nasarawa State under the PDP. He was a member of the National Assembly, a senator, I think 2 times also, under the PDP, before he later joined the APC. Now, and you have brought such person to be the national chairman of a political party. He has all along been a member of PDP. He understands how PDP works. He understands if they have an ideology, the ideology of a PDP. He understands if they have a good manifesto, the manifesto of PDP.
Right.
And now suddenly he was elected as senator under APC and re-elected again. And then in that second tenure, they made him national chairman of APC. How do you expect that such a person will efficiently, effectively superintend over the APC? He will be bound to favor some people. Don't also forget that APC is a party that was formed out of 5 political parties. A very big bloc like the new PDP.
Exactly.
Are there. The Rocha Sokorocha faction of ABGA came in there. The natural parties like the AMPP were there. We had the ACN, the Bola Tinubu party, are there. And then the President Buhari's CPC also came in to have that measure that led to the birth of the All Progressive Congress. And since the birth of this party, there have been this contention, contending fighting for space, fighting for relevance, fighting for positions, fighting for superiority amongst and between these 5 elements that came to make up the party. This was very clear in the appointment of President Muhammadu Buhari. It was very clear in the build-up to the 2023 primaries of 2022. You saw that those who emerged as candidates, as aspirants, were representing the various interests of these 5 elements that formed the APC. Bola Ahmed Tinubu came in from the ACN.
Exactly.
And it was like there was an agreement initially. We don't know how true that was. That after the CPC will have it, the next faction or the next element in the party that would have it would be the ACN. And that was why the ACN provided the vice presidency in the ADS of President Muhammadu Buhari. So you could see Rotimi Chubike Amechi, who was from the new PDP, also slugging it out. And so many other people. We also learned that, yes, the president actually did not put his feet on the ground like other presidents would naturally put their feet on the ground.
It seems like everybody who approached, he gave his blessing.
He gave his blessing to everybody. At the end of the day, it became problem to him. But unfortunately also...
How was it a problem to him?
He didn't know who to support. The president was a bit confused. He didn't know between his vice president, who has been very loyal to him, Yemi Osibanjo, and between the Minister of Transportation, the person a lot of people felt when the president had said, the person I want to succeed me, I won't name him now, because if I name him now, they will go against him and go after him. He didn't also know how to push Bola Tinubu. Without Bola Tinubu and Rotimi Amechi, who brought in the PDP and the ACN component, he would not have been president.
Of course.
But you see, he had 8 years to sort out all of this. He didn't use the 8 years to sort this out. I can bet you, if it were President Bola Tinubu that was president for 8 years, he would have naturally given a clear indication as to who he wants to succeed him, who will be his vice, who will come after that, maybe in the next 3 presidents of Nigeria.
But isn't that something we applaud? The fact that, well, he was aloof and allowed everybody slug it out.
That was correct. But you see, the Electoral Act also tied their arms. Because, incidentally, even members of the National Assembly that passed the Electoral Act didn't know that the Electoral Act was to be against them. The Electoral Act only talked about delegates and listed who the delegates
are going to be.
Those who were elected in the various congresses. Members of the National Assembly were not delegates and had no vote. The president himself and the vice president, the governors, were not delegates. They had no votes. If it used to be the way it was, all the members of the Federal Executive Council
would have,
and that was when the president could have 75% control of the delegates. But when the members of National Assembly, including the chairman of the Senate Committee on Constitution Amendment, Ovieomo Agege, realized it was too late. They wanted to start another amendment.
It was too short.
It was too short. It couldn't pass. So they all went into the primaries that way, and they accepted whatever came out of the primaries.
Okay, so we're really running out of time for all the political parties right now that are just listening to us and wondering the same thing. You have talked about an administrator, and I was asking midway into your conversation, do we have those, apart from those in the educationists who have been studying politics and know where politicians and how to be administrators? Do we have those?
There are many. Within the ranks of APC, within the ranks of PDP, within the ranks of Labour Party, and all other political
administrators
parties
who have dedicated their life into studying the runnings of a political party.
They are. Don't forget that the type of parties we run in Nigeria are mass parties.
Mass parties?
Yes. The party system, types of parties we run in Nigeria, we run a mass party.
Right.
A mass party is a party whose members are from all religions,
right,
of all ages, of all sexes, of all levels of education, whether literate or illiterate, professors and honorary persons are there.
Right.
The mass parties brings everybody together.
Are there political parties that are different?
In Nigeria, that is the law.
Right.
That is the law, incidentally. We do not operate a one-party system. In Nigeria, we do not operate religious parties. That is why for you to qualify to be registered as a political association, becoming a political party, your logo must not carry anything that has to insignia of a religion. you must have offices in 26 states, at least 26 states of the federation, at the capitals of those states. And the members of your party, you must show a register of people from all the states of the federation, and you must show a register that has people from different religions. And the leadership of the party must cut across different parts of Nigeria and different religions. So we can't say that APC or PDP or Labour Party do not have party administrators. Don't forget that these people also have the diaspora membership as well, who know how these things are done in those climes. All they need to do is to agree and decide to do the right thing, to ensure that political parties are run by core administrators, not necessarily politicians.
Okay, AK Peters, I must thank you for being part of the program. It's very insightful and very educating. I have learned so much talking to you right now, and I just hope that the political parties would have the light, will see the light at the end of the tunnel and see a long-lasting leadership. But if you have the last word to say before we close, what would it be?
Nigeria is coming of age. Politicians should put Nigeria first. We have no other country except Nigeria. Leaders of the country should know that what history would say about them will either be good or bad. And they cannot be both good and bad at the same time. If you ask me, I will advise them to be good and be on the good side of history.
That was AK Peters, political analyst. Thank you so much for being part of the program.
It's my pleasure.
This is where we draw the curtains on Joy Asonye Live. Have a wonderful evening and be rest assured we'll be back tomorrow with so much more.